missed the point. The idea of the fallen angel certainly appealed to Byron, and it was a role that he played perfectly once he had been cast. Believing himself to be from a family predestined for damnation, it was in his theatrical nature to assume the Luciferian role. But haughty still, and loath himself to blame, he called on nature's self to share the shame, and charged all faults upon the fleshly form she gave to clog the soul and feast the worm, till he at last confounded good and ill, and half mistook for fate the acts of will. Too high for common selfishness, he could at times resign his own for others' good, but not in pity, nor because he ought, but in some strange perversity of thought that swayed him onward with a secret pride, to do what few or none would do beside. And this same impulse would, in tempting time, mislead his spirit equally to crime. There is a self-awareness in Byron's work, which doesn't seek to excuse his behaviour, but rather offers an explanation. It's in his nature to be the opposite of what is considered acceptable. It's part of human nature to challenge the orthodox way of doing things. I think it was Aldous Huxley who said that orthodoxy is the grave of intelligence. Human nature is a state of duality. The light can't exist without the dark. The rock star MARILYN Manson chose his name to express this duality. He also explains how being brought up in Bible Belt America inspired him to create the character of Marilyn Manson, who would become the Antichrist superstar.
The words Marilyn Manson seem like an apt symbol for modern-day America. Charles Manson, the murderer, and Marilyn Monroe, a dual character. The first time I wrote it on paper, I knew it was what I wanted to become. Well, all the hypocrites in my life helped me decide to realise that everybody has a light and a dark side, and neither can exist without the other. I remember reading Paradise Lost in high school and being struck by the fact that after Satan and his angel companions rebelled against heaven, God reacted to the outrage by creating man, so he could have a less powerful creature companion in his image. Well, in John Milton's opinion at least, man's existence is not just a result of God's benevolence, but also Satan's evil.
After Byron's fall, after he left England for the last time, his legend grew. He was free from the constraints of marriage and the hypocrisy of the society he had left behind, or so he thought. As he journeyed through Europe the second time, news of his arrival travelled quickly from one place to the next, his reputation preceding him. After crossing the recently vacated battlefield of Waterloo, he travelled to Geneva. On this final European tour, Byron had commissioned a special Napoleonic coach. It was by all accounts very large and ornate. This was Byron's Rockstar hybrid limousine and tour bus. It contained a library, a drinks cabinet and a bed, large enough for 2 people. Byron's dangerous satanic reputation grew. At Geneva he met the radical atheist poet Shelley again, along with Mary, who by now was living with Shelley as his wife, and Claire Claremont, Mary Shelley's stepsister, who, after having a very brief affair with Byron in England, was ecstatic to meet her idol once again. It was whilst Byron was living at Villa Diodati near Lake Geneva that Mary Shelley wrote her novel Frankenstein. Across the lake, on the shore near the Hotel d'Angleterre, visitors could hire binoculars, hoping to catch a glimpse of the poets and their female companions, preferably up to some incestuous shenanigans. Despite Byron's protestation that Mary and Claire were not technically sisters, what did this matter to the scandal-hungry tourists and journalists hunting juicy gossip? Byron already had the scandal of the incestuous affair with Augusta under his belt, so to speak, and there were rumours of homosexuality, which was then a capital offence, sodomy carrying the death penalty. Byron once said that the object of life is sensation, and throughout his life he pursued sensation and experiences. In this next reading, we hear about David Bowie's experiences whilst recording his Pin-Ups album in France. It could be straight from Byron's diary.
The Chateau de Hérouville, what a lovely place to record an album. Warm summer sunshine, enough to please any hard-working, city-weary young musician. It once belonged to the famous composer Chopin, and was occupied for a while by the writer George Sand, a woman with a man's name. The chateau is made of natural stone and has huge iron gates. There seemed to be an endless stream of visitors. Nico, that really wonderful singer, with a friend of hers. Kid Jensen from Radio Luxembourg, and a lovely French singer called Christine. Dinners were really momentous occasions, with everybody seated at a super long table with candles and dry wine. Delicious food and all those beautiful faces with their suntanned cheeks and twinkling eyes. When we ventured outside the chateau, it was usually in our big green Cadillac fluted limousine. It really must be the longest car in France. And it was usually to a disco in Paris called the Malibu Club. There, we would drink and dance and party till 4 or 5 a.m. And one night I was so in love with Paris, I sent the car home without me and checked into the beautiful Hotel George V. Most nights, however, were spent in the studio, where we drink French wine until dawn.
In one of his videos for the song Blue Jean, David Bowie plays two characters. One is called Vic. He's the bumbling fan of the other character, the rock star, screaming Lord Byron, who performs the song at a club called the Bosphorus Rooms. Bowie's Byron is another dual character. In his dressing room he's revealed as agoraphobic and paranoid, but on stage and with women he's charming and charismatic. Byron travelled on to Italy and lived in a palazzo in Venice. It was here that his diabolical reputation mutated into a monster. He had countless countesses and hundreds of whores. It came as no surprise that his latest poetic character was Don Juan. He left a trail of broken hearts and dishevelled bedrooms. He wrote to his friends Douglas King